If Ash Ketchum began his journey in Pokemon Shield, could he conquer the Galar region? To find out, I'll be playing Pokemon Shield as Ash Ketchum, meaning I can only use Ash's Pokemon, and to make things even harder, I can only use the moves that Ash Ketchum's Pokemon used in the anime. I had two goals: catch every obtainable Pokemon owned by Ash in their correct form, and use only those Pokemon to beat the game. With limited Pokemon, limited moves, and a stack of extra rules, could Ash Ketchum become the Galar champion? Well, let's find out. To start, I name my character Ash, and our first job is to pick our starter Pokemon. Problem is, Generation 8 is the only generation where Ash doesn't own any of the starters, so I won't be able to use any of them. Although, I picked Scorbunny for a very specific reason, which I'll cover a little later. We pound our fists just like you should pound the like and subscribe buttons, and in the comments, let me know which Pokemon of Ash's is your favorite. But for now, we needed to get our first Pokemon, and just as we reached Wedgehurst, I spotted a Charizard, and that's perfect. Alright, Pokeball, go! Okay, never mind. Leon gives us a catching tutorial, but that's pretty pointless. I mean, Ash has been catching Pokemon for 25 years. I think he's got the hang of it by now. I tried to make my character look like Ash, but look, I'll work on it. Once we reach the wild area, we're given Ash Ketchum's true starter Pokemon, Pikachu. Ash's Pikachu is a chubby little mouse who loves ketchup. What's not to love? Just like Ash, we can't evolve our Pikachu and can only use the moves that Pikachu uses in the show. Now that we've got our starter, it's time to catch some more Pokemon. By backtracking to Route 1, we can catch a Caterpie, which, funnily enough, was actually the first wild Pokemon caught by Ash too. Now in the wild area, we can get quite a few of Ash's Pokemon right away. First up is a Pidove. It needs to be female so that I can get the correct form of its final evolution, Unpheasant. Next is a Snorunt who won't stop shivering. Can someone please give it a jacket? Ooh, a Lapras. Let me just get my Pokeball and... In a raid den to the north, we eventually find a Charmander who I'm able to catch. We just need to remember to keep Charmander out of the rain. Our Caterpie evolved into a Metapod, and then into Butterfree. It's a pretty strong Pokemon early on, but it can't really learn any good moves, which goes to show that this challenge won't be easy. Another example is Snorunt, who I can only use Double Team with, at least until I get my hands on an Ice Beam TR. Now we're in Motostoke, and here I can upgrade my style to at least look slightly more like Ash. Here we catch up with Leon and... never mind. Ash being the ladies' man that he is, I'm sure that he'd have his eye on the very pretty Bede. In the hotel, we're ambushed by Team Yell, who are way less interesting than Team Rocket. I mean, they don't even have their own air balloon, and they don't even try to steal Pikachu a single time. Lame. They're pretty weak, so Pikachu can Thunderbolt all over them for a pretty quick win. Although their leader Marnie has a cheap knockoff Pikachu, and I took that personally, but we'll have a chance to take her on later. After getting a quick preview of the gym leaders that Ash will need to defeat, I head for Route 3 where Hop stops us for a battle. I'm sure this would give Ash some PTSD, since last time he had a purple-haired rival, he spent most of the series getting slapped around. As far as rivals go, Hop is kinda like Gary Oak, except way lamer, much weaker, and has no maidens. Leading with Butterfree, I tuck Hop's Wooloo into bed with Sleep Powder before gradually grinding it down with some tackle attacks. Hop's last two Pokemon are both weak to Ice, so by switching into my Snorunt, I can pick up both KOs with an Ice Beam. Wait, I actually beat my rival on the first try? This has never happened to me before. My next stop is the Galar Mine, where I catch Roggenrola. I don't know what to say about this Pokemon, it's literally just a pet rock. At the end of the mine, we come face to face with Bede. Hey, hot stuff, let me get a peek at you. I'm a dude. Oh. I can make that work. Bede challenges Ash to a battle, and I decide to try out our new Roggenrola. But it missed its very first attack and immediately fainted. Thanks, Roggenrola. Nice debut performance. Bede's team is actually pretty good. My Pidove is able to lower Solosis with a few gusts, but it also falls. But I knew that my trusty Pikachu wouldn't let me down with a Thunderbolt finishing Solosis. It takes 3 more Thunderbolts to take care of Gothita, but Bede's Hatenna gets some revenge by taking Pikachu out. Even though Hatenna's at low health, it takes 2 tackles from our big bad Butterfree to clean things up, giving us the win. On my way to Turffield, I'm struck by a runaway freight Wooloo, putting me in the hospital for weeks. But after recovering, it was time to challenge the grass gym and try to earn my very first badge. But in this challenge, since Milo uses 2 Pokemon, I'll only be able to use 2 Pokemon as well. So I had to decide who to bring. You might think that Butterfree would be good since its typing strongly resists grass. But remember, I'm only allowed to use the attacks that Ash used, which means that my Butterfree's only damaging move is Tackle. This shows that despite having access to some good Pokemon in this challenge, with all the rules I've added, it still won't be easy. In the end, to take on Milo, I decided to bring my Pidove and Charmander. Pidove is pretty weak, but I've got the type advantage and take care of Milo's Gossifleur with a few air cutters. However, his Eldegoss is much scarier since it Dynamaxes. Even a super effective air cutter can barely do any damage. Within 2 turns, Pidove was knocked out, and it was down to a 1-on-1. My little Charmander against Milo's giant Eldegoss. Charmander fares a little better, with Flamethrower doing about 25% of Eldegoss's health, but crucially also inflicting a burn. Despite that, I still take huge damage from Max Overgrowth, with Charmander now on the brink of fainting. But since the 3 turns of Dynamax are now over, Eldegoss is back to normal size and is much weaker. Charmander tanks a Leafage before another Flamethrower brings Eldegoss into the red. On the next turn, one more Flamethrower burns Eldegoss to a crisp, and Ash had gotten badge number 1. That was closer than I thought it would be. To celebrate, our Charmander evolved into a Charmeleon, and now we were bound for Holbury. On Route 5, we beat up some Team Yell grunts and are rewarded with a shiny new bike. We basically shove our Rotom into the bike, which is really morbid. Soon after, Hop returns for a rematch, but his team hasn't really improved much. My Pikachu and Charmeleon team up to dominate that Paul wannabe within a few turns. How come you're so much stronger? Kid, I might be 10 years old, but I've been battling Pokemon for 25 years. This clears us to cross Route 5 and reach Holbury, where Rose is trying to challenge Ash's title as the biggest ladies' man in Pokemon. Excluding Gary Oak, of course. We'll deal with him later. For now, I'd made a tough decision. As much as I love Butterfree, since this is the Ash run, it felt fitting for us to follow Ash's lead and release our Butterfree. Alright everyone, say it with me in the comments. Bye bye Butterfree. God damn it. Who's been cutting onions? But now with an open slot on the team, it was time to catch some more Pokemon. So I headed over to the Isle of Armor, where we joined the dojo. Our first trial is a battle against the master himself. It's a condiment showdown between Mustard and Ash Ketchum. Honestly, it's a pretty easy fight since he's such a low level. He's got all these trophies, and I beat him so easily that I know they're not from battling Pokemon. I can only assume that they're from some kind of eyebrow-growing competition. While exploring, I was struck down by a speeding Slowbro, once again putting me in the hospital for weeks. But after recovering, we're given a choice of taking either Bulbasaur or Squirtle. This is such a hard decision because both of these are iconic Pokemon of Ash's. I honestly love both of them, but decided to pick Bulbasaur because it's the only grass type that will have a chance to get in this challenge. Sorry, Squirtle. While we're here in the Isle of Armor, there's a few extra Pokemon of Ash's that we can catch straight away. So, while exploring, I was able to catch a Corphish. I love this guy. He was caught in an episode titled Gone Corphishin'. Get it? Gone? Whatever. He rode on Swellow's back and danced his heart out with Brock. What a Chad Pokemon. That's my boy right there. Next, I caught a Goomy, and apparently, Ash's Goomy shows its affection by nibbling on your ear. Kinda kinky. Heracross is next, and it's a great Pokemon, but a lot of the moves it gets are garbage. I'll also have to keep Heracross away from Bulbasaur to avoid whatever is happening here. After that, I picked up Torkoal, and this is another one of my favorites. Torkoal is known to cry a lot, and my god, I will protect his precious heart at all costs. The last Pokemon that I'll catch for now is Tauros. The thing is, Ash didn't have a Tauros. Ash had 30 of them, but surely I wouldn't be stupid enough to catch 30 of them just for the content, right? Right? Psych, this is the Ash Ketchum run, baby. You best believe that I sat there and tediously caught all 30 of those bulls. I don't have much else to say about Tauros, so here's an adorable photo. You're welcome. Oh, also, during the carnage, my Pidove evolved into a Tranquil. Our Ash Dex was starting to fill up, but we still had plenty of Pokemon left to catch. But for now, with a stack of new Pokemon at our disposal, it's time to backtrack to Holbury for the next gym. Nessa uses 3 water types, so bringing Pikachu and Bulbasaur is a no-brainer. For my third slot, I'm bringing our new Tauros for a very specific specific reason, and you'll see why. So my game glitched out, and oh my god, they decapitated the Pokeball guy! Without his Pokeball, he's just Guy! We made our way through the gym puzzle before facing up to Nessa, and this is where Pikachu went wild, charging up some big Thunderbolts to electrocute Nessa's Goldeen, followed by her Arrokuda on the next turn. We had a 3-on-1 advantage, but now Nessa was down to her biggest threat, Dynamax Dreadnought. It hits insanely hard, and I could easily lose here, but this is where my Tauros comes in. By switching into our Wild Bull, its Intimidate ability activates, lowering the attack stat of Dreadnought. Offensively, Tauros can't do much damage to Dreadnought, but the debuff allows Tauros to stall out the 3 turns of Dreadnought's Dynamax. Once Tauros falls, we're clear to bring Bulbasaur out, who just manages to survive 2 headbutts before knocking Dreadnought out with 2 quad-effective Razor Leafs. That's badge 2 taken care of. Our Bulbasaur tried to evolve, but since Ash never had an Ivysaur, our little Bulbasaur will have to stay as a Bulbasaur. After the battle, Rose invites us for seafood, which, I'm sorry? You guys eat Pokemon from the sea? You stay away from my Corphish. Into the second Galar Mine, and now it's time for some bulls on parade because I unleashed my Tauros onto Bede. It's a powerhouse, sweeping through his first 3 Pokemon with Horn Attack. A few flamethrowers from Charmeleon took care of his Ponyta, giving us another win over a rival, which is very unlike Ash. Bede says that I lack talent. Oh, you're gonna regret that. While in the mine, I catch an adorable little Noibat, although I have no idea how it maintains flight with ears that big. There are some Team Yell grunts here, but Hop and I team up, sending out our farm animals who take care of business. Now, I'm cream crackered. What does that even mean? Are you a biscuit? You can't just replace an adjective with food and expect me to understand. That's like me saying, wow, I'm feeling really hot-dogged right now. Anyway, after giving up trying to understand British slang, we head back to Motorstoke where we're challenged by the queen of the Team Yell Simps, Marnie. This one's personal because she carries a phony, imposter Pikachu, so Ash needs to assert his dominance. As such, I lead with the real deal, 100% genuine Pikachu, and die to a crit immediately. Nice. Although, on the next turn, Tauros gets the trade with a Horn Attack finishing Krogunk. Scraggy hits Tauros hard with Low Kick, but Tauros tanks it like a champ, and a second Horn Attack from the Raging Bull takes Scraggy out. Morpeko does finally knock Tauros out, but Heracross can use 2 Horn Attacks of its own to give us the win. Pikachu didn't exactly have a great showing though, so it'll have to prove itself next time against the Imposter. The next gym leader scares me because he uses 3 powerful Fire-type Pokemon. If only we had a Water-type to help us. But Ash did have some other Pokemon that might help in this gym, so it was time to catch a few more Pokemon. First up is a Fletchling that I found in the Isle of Armor. After that is Palpitoad, who was just chilling in a raid den. This little guy will be really useful in the gym with its water and ground typing. At least it would have been useful if it wasn't 1 level above the cap. Reluctantly, I'll have to box Palpitoad until after the next gym. There is one more water type that I can catch. Krabby. Having a Kingler would be awesome. So let me just check what level it evolves. Level 28 strikes again! Getting a Lycanroc would have been a huge help, but we can't get one with the right form until after the 3rd gym, so we'll have to hold off for now. Sandile would also be a great encounter, but by the time Ash caught it, it was already a Crocorock, and I can't get a Crocorock below the current level cap. So we had limited options to take on Kabu's powerhouse team. To prepare, I leveled up our Pokemon, evolving Roggenrola into Boldore, as well as Fletchling into Fletchinder. These are the options we had to build a team. I hope you're proud of yourself, you over-leveled frog. In the end, this is the team I decided to go with. It looks like a pretty good team to take on fire types, until you see that Corphish only has Bubble Beam, Krabby's best water move is Water Gun, and Boldore only has Stone Edge. We might be in trouble. Regardless, Ash had a badge to collect, so we stepped up to Kabu with a pair of crustaceans and a pet rock. Immediately, I got some awful luck. Kabu leads with Ninetales, who embers Corphish and hits the 10% chance to burn. Seriously? Corphish takes a lot of damage, but can wear Ninetales down with 3 Bubble Beams. However, with Corphish so low, all it takes is 1 bite from Arcanine, and my Corphish is sleeping with the fishes. This looks bad, but we still have our Krabby. I predict the Will-O-Wisp from Arcanine, so use Water Gun despite Krabby's awful special attack. This really doesn't do much to Arcanine. Despite having the type advantage, Arcanine wears Krabby down with Bite, just knocking it out. This is a catastrophe because it means that Arcanine can now also burn my Boldore. I am able to finish Arcanine off with a Stone Edge, but the nerf to my physical attack means that Boldore can't take out Gigantamax Center Scorch in one shot. As such, Boldore falls within 2 turns. We had no Pokemon left, and Ash had suffered his first loss. That was a close battle though, so I felt confident that we could get the win in a rematch, and things were going really well. Corphish dodged a Will-O-Wisp from Ninetales, and was able to take it out with much more HP this time around. The flow-on effect is that Corphish can considerably weaken Arcanine with Bubble Beam before it goes down this time. This also means that Krabby can outlast an already weakened Arcanine. Center Scorch is able to get a quick revenge kill on Krabby, but this time my Boldore isn't burned, so finishing Center Scorch is all but guaranteed. Are you kidding me? Boldore missed the 80% chance to land its attack, and we lost again. Back again so soon, hey Ash? Shut up. I don't want to talk about it. Okay, so I'd been pretty unlucky, but surely my luck would turn around on the 3rd attempt. Ah, you stupid rock! Why do you always miss? It took 4 attempts, but this time my Boldore finally learned how to land an 80% accurate attack. And with 1 Stone Edge, the Gigantamax Center Scorch had been slain. It was very tough, but that eventual win gives us badge number 3. But if badge number 3 gave us that much trouble, would Ash really be able to go all the way to the champion? With the higher level cap, Krabby now evolved into a Kingler. Better late than never, I guess. While trekking through the wild area, we run into Snorlax, one of Ash's most iconic Pokemon, although apparently it's too high a level to catch, which hardly seems fair. I mean, when has having an over-leveled Pokemon ever stopped Ash before? But there is one Pokemon we can catch, Noctowl. Hang on, this doesn't look like Ash's Noctowl at all. He had a shiny Noctowl. But surely I wouldn't take the time to shiny hunt just to have a shiny Noctowl like Ash, right? Right? Ah, fine, start the damn timer. This was a terrible idea. I spent my first 5 hours knocking out 500 Noctowl since this is supposed to boost your odds. From here, all I could do was run into owl after owl, hoping to get a crumb of luck. But fortunately, after only 6 hours, I didn't find it. But how long would it take? 8 hours? 9 hours? 10 hours? 15 hours? Not even close. 20 hours? Keep going. After a ridiculously long 22 hours, this finally happened. Oh, we got it. Finally. Holy. Nearly 22 hours. Oh my god, it's so pretty. Oh, just please stay in the ball. Make this easy. Oh, finally! So we finally had our golden Noctowl. Was it worth the 22-hour grind? Absolutely not. But it will be if you leave a like on the video. I added our new beautiful owl to the team because there is no way that I'm not using it after all that time hunting. Its moves are pretty decent, and it also has the Insomnia ability. Me too, Noctowl. Me too. Turns out, I also got infected with Pokerus while shiny hunting, and that has a 1 in 20,000 chance. Just goes to show how bad my shiny luck actually is. Moving on, our next stop is Hammerlock. Oh, hey ladies, wanna see my moves? Steal my trademark pose one more time and I'll break your legs, kid.
Who's that Pokemon?
Osotopia is a new game in Dofus that offers a completely renewed experience. The main goal of Osotopia is to collect all 151 creatures and build a team to defeat the Osotopia League. Even if you've never played Dofus before, this is the perfect time to start since all players in Osotopia will start completely fresh. So both new and returning players will get to discover new classes, mechanics, gameplay, and objectives. In Osotopia, every player gets to pick one of 4 starters. You've got Coolio, the water type, Feveray, the fire type, Windive, the air type, or Drillbit, the earth type. I'm joining the Feveray gang because I can't say no to a cute turtle with nunchucks. Let me know who you would pick over on the poll I'm running on my community tab. If Feveray doesn't win, I'm gonna riot. In Osotopia, you can also start a guild to team up with your friends and adventure together. But if you want a real challenge, you can show off your skills by battling other players in one of the arenas. So there's plenty to do in Osetopia. There's also an entirely free-to-play mobile version of Dofus called Dofus Touch. They recently released a major update adding rare legendary weapons that you can hunt for, kind of like a shiny hunt, so check that out too. There will be plenty of new players in Osetopia as the servers only just launched on June 29. I'm registered for the Hito server, so sign up with the link in the description and maybe my Fever 8 and I will slap you around in the arena. Thanks to Dofus for sponsoring the video and supporting the channel.
Pikachu.
I love giving Wobbuffet a little poke. Officer, this guy right here. It's so beautiful. Hop gives me absolutely no help in taking out these two Team Yell grunts. Yeah, thanks for nothing, jerk. But now we've made it to Route 6 where we can grab some new Pokemon. My first encounter is only a 2% chance to appear, but eventually we're able to find a Howlucha. This Pokemon is an absolute Chad and I love it. Our other encounter on this route requires us to Frankenstein two fossils together to create this thing. I'll have to be careful with Dracovish since it has a scary habit of biting Ash's head. Both of the Pokemon I just caught are amazing, but neither have access to any decent moves that they used in the anime, so I'll have to bench them with Professor Oak for now. This brings us to the sandy town of Stownside, and wait, why does it look like this kid's about to be crushed by a Bronzong? And they're all laughing! Speaking of getting crushed, Hop wants a rematch. He has a new and experimental team, but I have a Pikachu with a new Ash Ketchum hat, and one single Thunderbolt is enough to zap his Cramorant out of the sky. Although Pikachu can't do anything to the ground-type Silicobra that follows, so I switch into our airborne Golden Noctowl. Two Air Slashes wipe Silicobra off the map, as well as the Thwacky that comes in after it. Last is Hop's little baby Toxel, but Noctowl hits him with a
Mind Crush!
taking it down with a single extra sensory. We slapped Hop around pretty badly, and his reaction was interesting. Now it was time to take on the next gym leader, and while leveling up our team, we evolved, no, not you, you'll be Bulbasaur forever. No, instead we evolved Charmeleon into Game Freak's favorite son, Charizard. I just hope that this Charizard listens to me a little more than Ash's one does. On top of that, we also evolved some other flying Pokemon, giving us Talonflame and Unpheasant. So these are the Pokemon we had at our disposal to take on Alistair. This is tough because we don't have any hard counters to ghost types. Ultimately, I decided to take these Pokemon to try and earn my next badge from Alistair. I lead with our Torkoal, whose ability changes the weather to sun. This buffs the power of fire moves, so one boosted Overheat destroys Yunmask. The dead Coral, Cursula, cuts its own health to curse Torkoal, and one more Overheat brings it into the red. I want to preserve Torkoal for later, so switch into Bulbasaur, who can finish Cursula with a Razor Leaf. Since the harsh sunlight is up, Bulbasaur can fire off a full power Solar Beam without needing to charge up. Although Mimikyu's Disguise ability allowed it to tank my Solar Beam pretty easily. With the sunshine now gone, I changed my strategy and hit Mimikyu with a Leech Seed before switching back into our beefy Torkoal. At this range, one Flamethrower and some Leech Seed damage is enough to take out that Pikachu imposter. Alistair's last Pokemon is a Gigantamax Gengar, and this guy is a demon. It can easily sweep through teams, so I need to be careful. But Torkoal is an absolute Chad, just surviving a Max Darkness before a huge Overheat lowers Gengar to below 50% HP. Torkoal goes down on the next turn, but by God, he went down a hero. I sent Bulbasaur back out next and expected Alistair to go for a Ghost-type move, so I planned to switch into Noctowl, who wouldn't be affected by Ghost types. But Alistair saw right through my plan and KO'd Noctowl in 2 turns. However, with the Dynamax now expired, our ace Charizard is clear to come in and wrap things up with a Flamethrower, giving us badge number 4. Bede's back, and he's sniffing out wishing stars like a Lechonk sniffing out truffles. He tries to ruin this lovely, gorgeous art piece, and Ash, being the cultured man that he is, decided to put a stop to it. Tauros absolutely ripped him to shreds, impaling each of his psychic Pokemon with his horns one by one. Rose saw Bede get soloed by a Tauros and instantly revoked his Pokemon license. Haha, what a loser. A short stroll through the Glimwood Tangle brings Ash to the town of Bologna. This place has so much soul. Marnie's here too, and she brought her imposter. I'm keeping my eye on you, fake chew. Ball Guy gives us his love ball, which sounds like a felony. The gym puzzle is set up as an audition to be the next fairy-type gym leader, although I don't really feel qualified since I don't have a single fairy-type Pokemon. This is another tough gym because we don't have any steel or poison types to counter her fairies. Having Ash's Gengar would be really sweet right now, but the only Gengar we can catch is at level 60, and we can't catch a Haunter because Ash never caught one, and I stand by that to this day. So I had to make do with the Pokemon we already had and decided to bring these 4. We stepped up to face Opal, who looks like an escaped science experiment from Willy Wonka's lab. I lead with Boldore against her comic relief Weezing. Opal asks trivia questions throughout the battle, and there is no shot that Ash would know any of these answers. Yeah, the magic user makes way more sense. Damn it! Despite having my stats lowered, I take Weezing down with 3 flash cannons. Boldore doesn't have much that can damage Mawile, so I bring out Torkoal. Alright, I know this one. It's gotta be pink! Are you kidding me? A boosted overheat is all it takes to burn Mawile to a crisp, but Opal's next Pokemon was about to ruin my day. Not only does Togekiss knock out my Boldore with Ancient Power, it also hit the small chance to get an Omni boost. Palpitoad could barely do any damage, going down shortly after. We were in a bad spot. Okay, Ash may be dumb, but he's not that dumb. You look to be about 105, so I'll lock in 88. Oh, come on! Things then got even worse because Togekiss decimated my Torkoal and got another Omni boost. Wow. Charizard was quickly destroyed by Ancient Power, and we'd been handed yet another loss. Next attempt, I benched Palpitoad and brought in Ash's Sparkly Bird. This time, I led with Noctowl, and an extra sensory does big damage to Weezing. Okay, Ash, you've got this. It's the same question as last time, so... You idiot! Noctowl was able to finish Weezing on the next turn, but Opal quickly got her revenge with Togekiss. But this time, my Boldore is at full health for Togekiss, and one huge Stone Edge can... How can you always miss every time? So I lost Boldore and we were once again in a rough spot, but we still had our hero Torkoal. Somehow, he managed to tank 2 Ancient Powers, allowing me to land a Flamethrower, followed by an Overheat to finally get rid of that awful Togekiss. Mawile does finish Torkoal on the following turn, and we were down to just our Charizard. And then, a miracle happened. Ash's anime plot armor activated, sparking his 2 brain cells to correctly answer a basic trivia question. I mean, he was bound to get one right eventually. Now we had a boosted Charizard who can destroy Mawile with a Flamethrower, as well as her Gigantamax cake Alcremie soon after. In true Ash fashion, we'd clutched up and gotten badge number 5. But that fight still gave us a lot of trouble, and I was starting to doubt whether we'd really be able to go all the way to the champion. But for now, we had to press onwards. Oh look, Hop's back. And he's gone. Pathetic. Wait, is that another Pikachu clone? Hang on, I gotta take care of this.
Target neutralized.
After a short trip through Route 8, Ash had made it to Sirchester City. There's a lot of snow here, and you might think that Ash would be cold, but he has his own way of staying warm. I'm not crying, it's just raining in my office. Hey, I know that trainer, he's pretty famous. Yep, I'm kinda a big deal. The gym puzzle is all about avoiding pitfalls, which Ash is awful at. Seriously, this guy's been falling in holes for decades. This gym leader uses ice types, and honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about this one. If there's one thing that Ash Ketchum has, it's fire types. So I assembled my squad and charged in to face Melanie, whose thighs are as thick as my torso. Since this is an ice gym, it makes sense to lead with our Walking Inferno Charizard. And our big boy wreaked havoc on Melanie's team with a single flamethrower melting down Frostmoth and Darmanitan. Her Ice Cube did last a little longer, but the result was still the same. And so, very quickly, it was down to a 4 versus 1. However, her Lapras is a problem. It's super bulky and has a dual water typing, so my fire types are in danger. I went for a Dragon Breath with Charizard, hoping to land a Paralysis, but wasn't so lucky. With a single Max Geyser, Lapras drowned out Charizard. Since this also sets up the rain, I went with Torkoal next to override the weather with Harsh Sunlight. Expecting Melanie to go for another Max Geyser, I switch into Palpitoad, who soaks up the attack with its water absorbability. Palpitoad's Mudshot did absolutely 0 damage to Lapras, but it did lower its speed. It was a valiant effort, but then Palpitoad went down to a G-Max Resonance. This is a problem because it also sets up Aurora Veil, effectively doubling Lapras's defenses for 5 turns. We were in a bit of a tough spot, but at least the Dynamax is now over. I sent Torkoal out next, who tanks a surf reasonably well due to the sunlight. Once again, I tried to get a paralysis with Body Slam, but still wasn't lucky. So I gave up on that, opting to Flamethrower Lapras for some small damage before Torkoal fell on the following turn. This went from a 4 vs 1 to now a 1v1 showdown. Melanie's Lapras taking on Ash's Pikachu. We've got the type advantage, but Melanie's Aurora Veil means that Lapras tanks our Pikachu's Electro Ball pretty easily. Melanie uses Icy Wind, which does a big chunk of damage while also lowering our speed. But since we lowered hers earlier with Palpitoad, our yellow mouse is still faster. And since her Aurora Veil is now worn off, one last Thunderbolt from Pikachu is enough to finally get the job done. That was way closer than I thought it would be, but in true Ash Ketchum fashion, Pikachu clutched up, and now we had badge number 6. This is an important part of the game because now we can ride our bike on water somehow. With our new aquatic capabilities, there are some extra Pokemon we can grab. First up is a Nightmare. Lapras can only be found on one specific spot in Route 9, and it's a 1% chance to fish up. This took about 350 hours, but eventually I caught our Loch Ness monster Lapras. I thought that Lapras was a nice encounter until I realized I can only use Water Gun and Ice Beam. That's not so nice. Next in the Isle of Armor, now that we have our 3-star raids unlocked, I can hunt for a Rockruff until eventually finding one with the Own Tempo ability. To get our next Pokemon, we have to travel around the Isle of Armor, grab a bunch of Diglett, and rip them out of the ground, revealing their full glorious bodies. After finding 100 Diglett, this guy will give us one of the Alolan starters, depending on the Galar starter we chose. This is why I picked Scorbunny back at the start, because it means we get Litten, the only Alolan starter that Ash had, which he fully evolved. Our last encounter for now is the Desert Croc, Krokorok. He's one of my favorites, but at this point in the run, I broke the rules. See, I said no held items, but this is my one exception. Ash's Krokorok needs his sunglasses, and he looks damn good wearing them. Without them, he becomes timid and cries until he gets them back. I can't look at this face and tell him he can't have his glasses. So I did the right thing and gave our Krokorok a pair of black glasses. Sue me. So we've caught some new Pokemon, but we can really fill out the pages on our Ash decks by leveling up our team with a ton of evolutions taking place, like Snorunt into Glalie, Goomy into Sliggoo, Litten into Torracat, and then into Incineroar, Krokorok into Crocodile, and finally Rockruff into the Dusk form Lycanroc. This Pokemon basically has 2 settings, me and also me, but after I've had my coffee fix. I'm not counting anything that isn't an official capture or Pokemon Sword exclusives, so we only had a few more Pokemon to fill out our Ash decks. But for now, it was time for Ash to try and get the last few gym badges. After biking across the Route 9 pond, we meet some gym challengers standing before a shut door. These brain-dead idiots don't realize that there's a side door like literally around the corner. To be fair, that seems like exactly the kind of mistake that Ash would make. Marnie tries to stop us with her counterfeit Pikachu, but Crocodile and his glasses absolutely decimates her team. This brings us to Spikemouth, and the locals are very charming. Don't you dare make Marnie's Morpeko cry. Oh, when I'm done, that imposter won't even be able to cry. Mimey, it's me! Pokeball, go! Screw you, you're not even my real dad. We find the gym leader, Piers, giving what I can only imagine is a traditional British concert.
Burning good!
Piers uses Dark-type Pokemon, but Ash has some great options to counter with. He leads with Scrafty, so I go with our Golden Owl. A critical hit Air Slash does huge damage, but Piers responds with a big payback. With Scrafty in the red, a tackle on the next turn gives us the early lead. Next up is Malamar. I'm able to do a big chunk of damage with Noctowl's Air Slash before it finally goes down, but this is where I start to dominate. Howlucha is next, and it can finish off the walking Calamari with one X-Scissor. Piers' Obstagoon is tough, but since it's 4 times weak to fighting, a Flying Press brings it to low HP before an X-Scissor finishes the job. Last is Skuntank, but a switch into Crocodile is free since Piers tries to use Sucker Punch. Crocodile, being the monster that he is, digs under the arena for huge damage onto Skuntank. It does get poisoned in the process, but one final Dragon Claw on the next turn finishes Skuntank. That gives me badge number 7 and the crowd an emotional breakdown. Excuse me, the best like no one ever was coming through. Raihan's uniform number is 241. Oh yeah? Well, here's my phone number. Ash's womanizing aside, we had one more gym badge to collect, but this one is tough. Raihan has some powerful Pokemon, and it's a double battle, so I had to carefully pick the Pokemon to bring with me. I led with our Ice-type duo of Lapras and Glalie. Flygon does a decent chunk of damage with Breaking Swipe, but one 4 times effective Ice Beam knocks it out. Gigalith tanks a Water Gun pretty easily, before body pressing onto Lapras for big damage. Next in is Sandaconda, and it's gone. Lapras continues to chip away at Gigalith, but gets knocked out in the process. We still have the numbers advantage, but Raihan has a Gigantamax skyscraper dragon thing. Although I did plan for this, with Howlucha hitting a super effective high jump kick onto Duraludon for huge damage. Glalie just survives a Max Knuckle before landing an Icy Wind onto both of Raihan's Pokemon. It doesn't do much damage, but it does lower their speed. My goofy Howlucha missed its next high jump kick though, and lost half of its health in the process. Glalie brought Gigalith to low health with an Ice Beam, and got a lucky freeze which was clutch, although it fell to Duraludon shortly after. It was down to a 2-on-2, but we were in a great spot. Howlucha quickly finished Gigalith off with a Flying Press, and by using Dig, Crocodile dodged Duraludon's attack, ending the Dynamax. On the next turn, one last high jump kick finished off Duraludon, and Raihan was no more. We'd gotten our 8th and final badge, but we weren't done yet. Ash had the toughest battles still to come, and more Pokemon to catch, so let's get to it. In the wild area, I finally came across a Riolu that I was able to catch. It evolves via friendship, so I shook a stick in its face and we played some fetch. Go get it! Fine, but I am not running. This bonding experience allowed Riolu to evolve into Lucario, one of Ash's best Pokemon. Our Sliggoo evolved into Goodra, who is just oozing with enthusiasm, and Noibat also evolved into Noivern, whose ears somehow got even bigger. I found a Gengar just strolling around, and it was really hard to catch since it's level 60, but with some convincing from Charizard, Gengar joined the roster. Our last catch is the big Papa Bear, whose only language is food, Snorlax. I told you I'd be back for you. Ash's last Pokemon is his stepdad, Mr. Mime, but the Galarian Mr. Mime look ill, so I'll have to hunt down the real deal. Fortunately, there's a guy in Spikemuth that has abducted Ash's dad, and we can get our Mimey back by paying the ransom of 1 Obstagoon. With that, we had completed our first goal of filling out the Ash Dex, obtaining every single obtainable Pokemon of Ash Ketchum's from Pokemon Shield and the Isle of Armor. And now, only one goal remains. Use Ash's Pokemon and their limited moves to defeat Leon and become the new champion of Galar. But we've got to make it to Leon first. Somehow, Hop thinks that he's the favorite to become champion. Okay bud, let's pretend that I haven't wiped the floor with you at every single turn. After a short trip through Route 10, we made it to Winden, and just like the anime, Ash will have to take part in a grand tournament to fight for the crown of champion. Hey kid, this dancing isn't free, toss me your mum's credit card. Challenger Ash has a balanced team, but he doesn't have a way to decisively win. Hey, screw you. Our first round matchup is against Marnie and her dark types. Hey Marnie, how's your Morpeko? Shut up Ash, you tried to kill my rat! Haha, yeah, I'm pretty great. I led with Howlucha and Flying Press all over her Liepard for a quick knockout. Next in is Morpeko, and I'm expecting Marnie to use an electric move, so I switch into Crocodile. She ended up using Torment, so the switch is still free. With one dig, our Desert Croc drags Morpeko into the ground, burying that imposter once and for all. Against Scrafty, our Unpheasant goes into Sicko mode, landing all of its attacks through Confusion, finishing it off with a Quick Attack and Air Cutter. Unpheasant is able to do some damage to Toxicroak, but ultimately falls in the process, although one dig from Crocodile can finish the job. Marnie was now down to her final Pokemon, a Gigantamax Grimmsnarl. Once again, I used Dig with Crocodile, mainly because this takes up 2 turns of Dynamax. Dig does big damage, however, Crocodile does go down to a single attack. Our big beefy Snorlax does manage to land a Body Slam, but it too goes down in the process. However, now the Dynamax is over, so our Howlucha is clear to come in and finish things off with a devastating X-Scissor. Clean knockout. With Marnie and her Morpeko finally dealt with, next up is Hop. And actually, I'm a little worried. Ash usually gets slapped around by his rival all season, only to beat them in the last battle. But what if the opposite happened this time? Then again, it is Hop that we're up against, so this will be a breeze, right? I lead with the almighty Lucario, and Hop sends in a sheep. Hop, you're such an idiot! Oh. Hop isn't pulling any punches, so I send in our boy Pikachu next and finish off his Dubwool with a quick Thunderbolt. This draws out Hop's Snorlax, who Pikachu can't deal with, so I switch into Howlucha. Since Snorlax tried using high horsepower, Howlucha isn't affected. On the next turn, a high jump kick connects, but falls just short of getting the KO. We take a chunk of damage from Heavy Slam, but a flying press on the following turn gets the job done. Since Ash doesn't know the type chart, I stay in with Howlucha against the electric type Pincurchin. Another high jump kick does decent damage, but sadly, Howlucha fell to a single Thunderbolt. A dig from Crocodile picks up a quick revenge knockout, and 2 crunches from our Desert Croc clip the wings of Corviknight. Hop then sends in his last Pokemon, Rillaboom. A crunch does solid damage to the Drumming Ape, but Crocodile ultimately falls on the second turn to a max overgrowth. Alright Pikachu, you got this. Alright Pikachu, you don't got this. It was down to a 1 versus 1, but we've got a trusty Charizard who has a great type matchup here, and 1 overheat is enough to seal the win. Challenger Ash, tell me about your last match. Yeah, Hop's a loser. I slapped him around with one eye closed. I'm right here! Just like how Team Rocket interrupts everything in the show, the Macrocosmos team interrupts the tournament to hold Leon hostage. At least we have Team Yell on our side. Piers gives us yet another magical performance.
Good morning, Glenn.
You can just tell that Macrocosmos are pure evil because they wear sunglasses inside at night, and selling life insurance to kids really doesn't help their case. Anyway, the Grunts all use Steel-type Pokemon, so our Incineroar had no trouble clearing them with Firefang. Once we reach the top of Rose Tower, we're stopped by Oleana, who looks like she's ready to step on me. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Her team scares me because it's so diverse. Against her Frostlass, I lead with Lycanroc and immediately pick up a quick KO with Accelerock. Oleana sends out her powerful Milotic next, and since this is an awful matchup for me, I switch into Pikachu. Milotic is so bulky that 2 Thunderbolts aren't enough to take it down, with Pikachu falling to 2 Surfs. But with Milotic at low HP, I can bring Lycanroc back out and finish the job with a Stone Edge. Next is the Grass type, Serena. I thought I could get around this by going into our Bug type, Heracross, who eats grass types for breakfast. But I forgot that this Serena has Acrobatics, a flying type move that rips Heracross to pieces. Whoops. This time, I went with Incineroar, who has a much better matchup. I take some damage in the process, but a Firefang and Ember burn Serena to a crisp. After seeing how little damage Incineroar does to Salazzle, I opted to switch into Lycanroc, who has a much better matchup. I get poisoned in the process, but a Stone Edge on the next turn gets the KO. Now Oleana was down to her final Pokemon, but it's a tough one. Gigantamax Garbodor looks like a pile of sludge that raided a kid's toy box. Lycanroc Stone Edge does a small chunk of damage before getting wiped off the map by a Max Quake. I sent Incineroar out next, mainly for the attack drop on Garbodor thanks to my Intimidate ability. My Firecat immediately goes down and we were in a tough spot. It's a 1v1, Oleana's Sludge against my pet Rock. But in true Ash Ketchum fashion, I had a plan. See, Garbodor has the ability Weak Armor, not to be confused with Ash's ability Plot Armor. Weak Armor lowers your defense every time a move makes contact. And my Boldor knows Rock Blast, a move that hits multiple times. See where this is going? Boldor tanks a Max Quake like a champ, before Rock Blast connects twice, harshly lowering Garbodor's defense in the process. This means that on the next turn, Boldor can finish the fight with one last Stone Edge. That was really close, but we somehow clutched up. So we saved Leon from being seduced by Rose, and now the tournament can continue. Let me into the snack room, damn it! I just want something from the vending machine! Let me in! Our next battle of the tournament is against Bede, who looks like he stole Opal's wardrobe. Now he uses powerful fairy types and leads with a Mawile. But I've got a flying flamethrower in Charizard who immediately gets the knockout. Against Gardevoir, I switch into Snorlax, who can tank its hits reasonably well. A Body Slam does big damage to Gardevoir and gets the paralysis. But Bede hits me with an Uno reverse card because Gardevoir's Synchronize ability means that I get paralyzed too. Regardless, on the next turn, one more Body Slam finishes the job. Although Snorlax was fully paralyzed against Rapidash. I tried to stall the inevitable by using Rest to recover HP, but Snorlax, the giant oaf, just wouldn't wake up fast enough and eventually fell to a crit. I went with Charizard next, but Rapidash dodged my Steel Wing. The second one connected, but this allowed Rapidash to take Charizard out too. We were down to a 2 versus 2, but I still had my secret weapon. The Pokemon that has destroyed Bede for most of this challenge, our Raging Bull Tauros. This is where Bede made a crucial mistake, because Rapidash got a critical hit against Tauros, and this activates its Anger Point ability, which maxes my attack. Congratulations Bede, you played yourself. With Tauros at max power, Rapidash fell to a single Horn attack, as did the Dynamax Hatterene that followed. My Plot Armor is truly unmatched. But the next battle scares me way more. We have to take on Nessa's water types, and most of my best Pokemon are fire types, so it's really not a great matchup for Ash. I decided to lead with our sparkly golden owl. While an Air Slash isn't enough to get the KO onto Golisopod, it does activate its emergency exit ability, forcing Nessa to switch into Barraskewda. I expect an Ice Fang to be coming my way, so Noctowl retreats, and I send out a hungry Snorlax in its place. Barraskewda hits hard, and its liquidations do big damage, but Snorlax hangs on just long enough to land a second body slam, giving us the KO. Although Seaking gets a quick revenge kill with Waterfall, bringing things back to an even 4 versus 4. I send in our mascot, Pikachu next, and can take Seaking down with 2 quick Thunderbolts. Golisopod returns, so I go back into our Noctowl, who tanks the first impression, before finishing the job on Golisopod with another Air Slash. Nessa's Pelipper is annoying because it sets up the Rain and Tailwind. 2 Air Slashes fall just short of taking it down, as Nessa heals with a full restore. Sky Attack gets Pelipper low once again, but it dodges my Air Slash, allowing it to finally take Noctowl out. However, Pikachu can get some revenge with a Thunderbolt finishing Pelipper. So Nessa was down to only her Dreadnought, but it is a beast. A Thunderbolt does some respectable damage, but sadly, Pikachu falls to a single max Rockfall. Although, I do have a plan. Now it's time for Ash's stepdad to really shine. Dreadnought is a physical attacker, so I have Mimey set up Reflect. This means that it takes Dreadnought 2 turns to take Mr. Mime out, stalling out the remaining Dynamax turns. We were down to a 1v1. Howlucha versus Dreadnought, but with a single high jump kick, Howlucha finishes off the fight, giving Ash another close win. The fights were getting tougher, and we still had some deadly opponents ahead. But my next fight is definitely not one of the tough ones. Alistair's ghost types are light work. After Gengar takes care of Dusknoir, I can bring Krookodile out. Its Moxie ability means that every KO it gets boosts its attack. So with a string of crunches ripping Alistair's Pokemon apart, we can build up some serious momentum. Before long, Alistair was down to only his Gengar, but a dig from Krookodile takes it down in just one shot. Alistair, you were destroyed out there. What do you have to say for yourself? Crumbs! Okay then. Oh, hey Marnie, I didn't know they let losers in here. Shut up, Ash! Our final opponent is the Master of Dragons, Raihan. I hate this guy. He stops mid-battle to take a selfie. Anyway, he leads with a Torkoal who sets up the sun. I go with Goodra, lowering Torkoal's HP with a Dragon Pulse and Dragon Breath. But I get hit with Torkoal's Yawn. Since I don't want Goodra to take a nap, I switch into Gengar, who can take Torkoal down with a Sludge Bomb. Next up is Flygon, and I know that an Earthquake is coming, so I switch into Howlucha, who is immune to ground moves. Then on the next turn, I can bring out Glalie, who tanks an Earthquake, before finishing Flygon with a devastating Ice Beam. Raihan's next Pokemon is the Fire Dragon Turtonator. It's a bad matchup for Glalie, so I go back to Goodra. We exchange Dragon Pulses, but since I'm faster, Turtonator goes down to a second Dragon Pulse. Raihan then sends in his own Goodra, and there is a lot of drip on the field right now. I'm able to land a huge chunk of damage with Water Pulse, before his Goodra out-goos mine with a Muddy Water taking me down. But this setup is perfect. With Goodra low, Krookodile cleans it up with one Dragon Claw, also giving me a Moxie attack boost. Raihan sounds like he's about to commit genocide, but Krookodile and his sunglasses are up to the task. Using Dig lets me burn 2 turns of Dynamax while also doing some big damage. Krookodile hangs on, surviving a Max Knuckle, before one more dig can bury Duraludon, giving Ash yet another win. With that, we'd cleared the finals bracket and earned the right to take on the champion, Leon. Oh, hey Hop, I didn't know they let losers back here. You already used that joke, Ash. Finally, we can take on Leon and...
Prepare for trouble.
Make it double.
Team Rocket again? It wouldn't be Pokemon if an evil organization didn't interrupt every 5 minutes, I guess. Rose spent all his time conjuring up a big, evil master plan, but made one crucial mistake, building a team consisting solely of Steel types. Ash has a stacked roster of fire Pokemon, so I unleashed our Charizard onto Rose's mechs, and melted them down with Flamethrower, one after another. His first 4 Pokemon went down very quickly, although Gigantamax Copperaja is a bit more problematic. I do land an Overheat for huge damage, but Charizard finally falls to a Max Mindstorm. I sent Torkoal out next, but he immediately fell to a Max Quake. But with the sun now beaming down, Incineroar is clear to come in and save the day with a boosted Fire Fang. Looks like Rose is blasting off again! We do still have to deal with Eternatus, but Lapras absolutely clutched up here. With one Ice Beam, Lapras turned the big, bad, legendary Pokemon into a floating ice cube. It was frozen in place for one turn, so a few more Ice Beams from Lapras were enough to get the job done. But then Eternatus turns into a giant hand? This is where some serious Pokemon anime logic kicks in. Hop and I pull out these rusty artifacts that we randomly found lying on the ground, and these summon two legendary dogs. Makes perfect sense. Ash and Hop team up with the legendary fairy puppies to take Eternatus down. The filler arc was over and the day was saved. But before moving on, there was one more thing to take care of. Ash eventually released both his Goodra and Lapras back into the wild. And since I'm playing as Ash, I think it's only fair that we do the same. Take it easy, friends. Now we were ready for the grand finale. Can I have your autograph? Sure, kid, here you go. This would be the final battle of the challenge. Could Ash defeat Leon and become the Galar champion? Let's find out. Leon leads with his deadly Aegislash, so I go with our ace, Charizard. Leon uses King Shield to protect on turn 1, but on the following turn, Charizard fires off a devastating overheat to give us the early lead. Leon goes with Dragapult next, and I expected to go for Thunderbolt, so I switched into Crocodile, who soaks up those volts like it's nothing. A Flamethrower does some damage, but Crocodile hangs on, and a Crunch removes Dragapult in one shot. Although, next up is Inteleon, who very quickly gets the revenge knockout with a super effective Snipe Shot. In response, I send out our boy Pikachu. Inteleon does nerf my stats with a tearful look, but Pikachu clutches up and lands a critical hit Thunderbolt, electrocuting Inteleon all the way to 0 HP. I know his Haxorus wants to Earthquake our Pikachu, but I'm not having that, so switch into Charizard. Haxorus's Outrage does enormous damage to Charizard, who returns fire with a Dragon Breath. On the next turn, one more Outrage spells the end of Charizard. However, this is where our goofy Dracovish makes its debut. One Ice Fang is enough to finish off the weakened Haxorus, and a Vicious Rend decimates Mr. Rhyme. Suddenly, Leon was down to his final Pokemon, his ace, Gigantamax Charizard. Dracovish was able to put up some resistance with a Vicious Rend, but ultimately, Charizard took it down in 2 turns. But I had just the Pokemon for the job, our day 1 best pal Pikachu. He just tanks a max Overgrowth before charging up one final Thunderbolt. This one's for burning me back in Wedgehurst. With that, Ash, Pikachu, and his other Pokemon had conquered the Galar region despite all the extra rules. For more Pokemon content, jump into this video next. Remember to like the video and let me know in the comments which Pokemon of Ash's is your favorite. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.